you have AR glasses, right? And how are you going to control them? Without having to speak out loud, without having to wave your hands around. So the question is, how do you make it so that you can basically go and have your mind give commands to the computer, in this case the glasses? Some people, I mean, like Elon with Neuralink and those companies, I think that's just taking this like super far off. Normal people, I think in the next 10 or 15 years are probably not going to want to get something just installed in their brain for fun, is my guess.
I don't want to be an early adopter.
Mark Zuckerberg went on the Joe Rogan podcast and gave us some massive news on the next computing platform and the future of VR and AR. That 10 billion of spending on the metaverse and their lack of legs in Horizon Worlds. In this podcast, Zuckerberg drops a lot of hints regarding the future roadmap and shows that the future of Meta is truly exciting.
Right, so we already have these experiments with haptic gloves. I want to design this in a way where you don't need that. Right, so today there's two primary modes of doing the tracking. I mean, there's this kind of notion of inside-out tracking. You're wearing the headset, and it tracks your motion, it tracks your hands. Eventually, it'll track your legs with an AI model. And you can do that all with your headset. And the big advantage of that is you don't need to have a whole lot of different devices, right? Eventually, you'll be able to do it without even having controllers. You'll just have the headset. The headset will get smaller. It'll be more portable. You'll be able to bring it around. You don't want to have a setup that has like 10 pieces, right? I mean, you really just want to make it work from the device.
Currently, the VR enthusiasts are all into full body tracking and wearing expensive body trackers for the avatars in VR chat. Comparing this to Horizon World, it seems like Meta is heading in the wrong direction. However, the vision of Meta is making this technology accessible to the masses for the lowest cost possible. They are using AI to make hand tracking available, and for the first time ever, they actually mentioned that they want to use computer vision to develop AI algorithms for leg tracking as well.
And we'd sort of guess that your arm was like that or something. And if your arm was actually like that, but we displayed it so that it was in like that, you're like, my elbow's broken. Right? It felt like really wrong. So it's actually much better to show a limited number of signals, but get them right. And then you could just add on over time. So for previous versions before this, we didn't, the kind of eye contact was all just, AI simulated, but we didn't actually know when you were making eye contact because we weren't tracking the eyes. And now for this version and hopefully, a lot of the different ones that we build going forward, you'll be able to, have realistic facial expressions and more translated directly to your avatar. But there's this whole roadmap of basically how do you deliver this like real sense of presence, like you're there with another person no matter where you actually are.
So slowly they will start adding these pieces to the VR worlds, and the latest piece of criticism was actually on the selfie of Zuckerberg and how lifeless his face was looking like. Well, in the new headset that releases in October, it will actually have eye and face tracking that will be showing facial animations. So, Horizon Worlds will actually include facial animation next, then it will also include leg tracking, and the visual fidelity will improve. But, for the end game, controllers will actually disappear.
So the question is, how do you make it so that you can basically go and have your mind give commands to the computer, in this case the glasses? The research that we're doing, it's based on it's basically input only, and it's focused on, so it's not trying to send signals to your brain, it's trying to make it so that your brain can communicate with the computer. It turns out you can have a device on your wrist that basically your brain can communicate with your hand, tell your hand to move in like a pattern that it isn't used to, and then the wristband can sort of pick up those signals and translate them into completely different things, like having a virtual hand move in front of you while your physical hand is just kind of sitting there at your side.
Whoa.
So in the roadmap of Meta, they want to slowly remove controllers and use AI and computer vision and enable speech and your hands as your primary input. At a certain point, it will be too exhausting to keep on using your hands and keep on swiping the entire day. That's when neural interfaces will be used. These neural interfaces will be used to send inputs to the devices without making large motions with your arms. When this happens, I'm wondering how the gaming landscape will actually look like. Will competitive multiplayer be in VR with full motions? Or will you play games using neural interfaces? And how will someone be better when playing with neural interfaces? Let me know in the comments section.
And I mean, I often get criticized because we're investing just this huge amount in this. We're going to spend this year alone more than $10 billion on all of these different research streams. But the breadth of this is just like extremely wide, right? It's not like $10 billion is going towards any one specific thing. It's like there's all the avatar work and all of how you express yourself and how you build the worlds. And then there's all the VR stuff. And within VR, we're working on this year's device and next year's device and the one after that. And then in AR, we talked about, it's like we have the Ray-Ban glasses and we have sort of the next version of that. But then we also have kind of the research going towards the full AR. And we haven't even gotten to neural interfaces yet, but we should definitely spend some time on that. But it's like you kind of go across all these different things and it's just this incredibly wide amount of technology that needs to get built in order to basically build and deliver a realistic sense of presence like you're physically there with another person, which I just think is the most magical thing in the world.
Well, it's very...
So there's a lot of misinformation going on in the internet, where the internet is claiming that Meta has spent 10 billion on Horizon Worlds.
Here is PC Gamer with Mark Zuckerberg spent $10 billion on the metaverse, and all he got was this stupid selfie. That's not a joke, by the way. Meta has spent $10 billion on Horizon Worlds only for it to look like frickin' this or this. Does this look like a $10 billion video game or interactive medium endeavor to you? I mean, talk about some of the most inefficiently used $10 billion ever, with the results being what PC Gamer accurately describes as a worse version of Second Life.
But that is not true. This is just bad research and shitty reporting and just hunting for clicks. The truth is that all this spend is actually going into research for AI and also all the technical stuff for the headsets. So they have multiple prototypes that they're working on and all of the successors for the Quest. And keep in mind that they're also developing AR technology and are doing developments on their codec avatars. Personally, I'm excited to see that there's one company willing to spend so much money on this new technology and see what limit they can push this to.